Hey Alc203, today I want to talk about education and technology. To begin with, a quote from Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon. You can use it to change the world. Education is what sets countries apart and what builds futures. Education also helps grow societies and define pathways of careers. Now that digital media has become a major part of this, it is evolving. So to begin with, I actually wanted to start off with an anecdote. For me, as a primary school kid, I would go to school with my textbooks, my pens, my paper, we'd get handout sheets, we'd have a couple of computers in the computer lab, but we never really had any technology really, blackboards, all that sort of stuff. Moving into high school, I had compulsory laptops, so that was a bit of a big change. I was able to get used to them pretty quickly, use them pretty much daily, but now I wanted to give a quick contrast to my sister, who is younger than me. She, in primary school, had laptops, used them for pretty much every class. They still had some textbooks, but not really used them that much. Now moving into high school, she is using e-textbooks, portal, online learning, all that sort of stuff. So it is a massive change, even just in the 4 years difference that we have. And it really shows how much that technology is taking over society these days. So going from there, I wanted to start talking about technology. Starting with a quote from the Journal of Scientific Educational Technology. There are changes in education, shifting from passive acquisition of someone else's ideas to learning experiences that empower people to inquire, critique, create, collaborate, problem solve, and create understanding. Alright, so from there, I wanted to have a look at what the 2017 Victoria curriculum had to offer with learning resources that were online. So they're available to all the teachers around Victoria, and I just wanted to list a few of them for you, just to give you a good idea. So Fuse, which is an online database for articles, stories, videos, that sort of thing. There's also coding apparatuses, which is just incredible. I can't believe that they're teaching coding to young kids now. You just thought it was something of the future when I was a student. So there's also Global 2, which is a blogging apparatus, which allows students to learn about social media in a positive light. There's virtual conferencing, obviously, with notebooks, iPads, all that sort of thing. iTunes U, which allows the students to access podcasts from all around the world, or videos, that sort of thing like that. As well as learning about Smart Sparrow, which is a apparatus for teachers, actually. So that's for them to track students and be able to help them and learn in their different ways. So they're able to customize their learning experience from an online program, which is just fantastic. So one of the major issues I wanted to have a look at was actually the crisis for engagement that students are currently facing. For many years, teachers were able to just give their content and without having any alternative. So now that digital media has become so massive and so easily accessible, students are finding it hard to go back to that, textbook, just take notes, that sort of thing. So there was a study conducted in America over a Gallup poll, which noted that in 900,000 students over America, in grade 5, they had a 75% engagement percentage, and which is great. That's pretty good, 3/4. And then it severely drops when we're looking at year 12 students. It goes down to 34%, which is almost half, which is just ridiculous. It shows how year 12s are so disenchanted from the learning criteria that they're currently given. So maybe this technology and all these different apparatuses that I've talked about previously can facilitate this engagement and help students to actually listen to the teacher. And it's just it's a two-way street. The teacher will be able to teach better and the student will be able to learn better. So on the note of engagement, Dr. Trevor of the UCL Institute of Education notes that technology can now create a flexible approach that replicates aspects of social interaction that are valued but not necessarily achieved in traditional education. There are, of course, many calls for criticism, the fact that education and technology can successfully intertwine with each other. The main points of argument include that technology is unreliable, students can no longer interact as groups, and that it's very expensive to run. It's also stated that teachers find it hard to connect with students when they are unable to actually see them face to face, where they're using iPads and all that sort of thing. Crook states that the implementation of Web 2.0 is that learners are now taking control of their own learning. Educational practitioners are now noticing such slippage in authority. The teaching staff just aren't able to fully teach the kids anymore. This is a major criticism. There was also an interesting article in the New York Times which looked at how the implementation of technology is just cost-cutting for teachers' benefits. This is also a main point of criticism. Obviously, it's something that needs to be considered, because obviously, if technology can work as one, it does actually become a very cheap resource. There's obviously upkeep and all that sort of thing, but it kind of does make teachers redundant in a way, in a certain facet. I believe that the role that digital media is playing in education is greater than ever. I believe technology is a great instrument to help students learn if it can be used in the correct way. I think teachers feel like they are threatened by technology. Lots of them are very old school. I feel like if there were teachers of our age, they'd be actually more willing to try the technological things that they have available to them. And I think some of these programs can be so great in learning, because I'm a real hands-on learner myself. I think that if I'm able to, watch a video or actually learn something by doing it, it will just help me learn so much more. Especially with these low engagement levels, I can't see why the use of technology is not being more widely used. So I really think there are a lot of different resources available out there, but I can see how it's creating a divide between teachers and students, or even families like that. I found a quote which I actually really agree with, stated by Rosing about digital media. It says that by expanding discussion and investigating beyond the walls of the classroom, and that's what I think sums up technology these days in education. I think that Web 2.0 has just created an environment where students can now seek information that they never thought they could, and that all these different resources are out there, and I don't see why we don't use them. I think obviously there is some need for teachers. I think that they great facilitators of learning, but if they're able to incorporate both the old school learning and the new style of learning, I think it can create an amazing education for Australians and people all over the world.